What's going on, people? Welcome back to Curtis Shaw TV, back with another match preview. Arsenal against Benfica, the second leg, and it's only right that I bring back my guy Cristiano. The people was calling for you to come back after the last preview, bro, so I had to get you back. How you feeling, man?
I'm feeling wonderful, man. I'm ecstatic to be back here with you, Curtis. Look, man. We've only had the privilege of speaking to each other on the air one time, but I had an absolute blast, and I'm glad that you and your listeners enjoyed me so much that you want me back, man. It's an absolute privilege, and anytime you guys want to hear me back, just hit me up, man. I'm here. I'll talk Arsenal all day, baby. The red and white, just like Benfica. Your stadium,
Oh,
just like ours. Hey, you're both disappointed, just like we are, bro. Let's go. This is easy.
come on, man. We got a lot in common right now. I mean, just briefly before we talk about obviously the Arsenal Benfica game, I mean, the weekend didn't really improve for us. As you know, Manchester City, they beat us 1-0. But it wasn't like a 1-0 where they were sweating and the goalkeeper was making saves. It was like a training session for them. They strolled through the game. I see Benfica drop points at the weekend again. Did you draw 0-0?
Yes, we did. We
What was
we.
that game like for you guys?
Uh, I mean, come on, Curtis. I thought you liked me, man. I
At
think
least you got a point. We didn't even get a point, you know?
you played the league leaders, Manchester City, Pep Guardiola, and $1 billion package behind them. You know,
Yeah,
it is. You guys are still a team that's building to compete for the title. Hopefully, in the next 2 years, right? At the earliest, you hope you just you want to finish top four, but you understand that City, right?
yeah,
They spend a boatload of money. Not that you don't as well, but they're in the next level, right?
yeah.
Benfica, on the other hand, I'm embarrassed to say this. But the truth is the truth. We drew 0-0 against a team that hadn't kept a clean sheet since 2001, man.
2001.
So 2001 was the last time that they kept a clean sheet. That's what we did. Now let's call us. Let's we got to mention this. They did spend some time in second division, but
Mm.
regardless, in the Portuguese first division, it's the first clean sheet since November 25th, 2001. They've given up a goal against everybody they played against except the mighty Benfica and their $100 million budget.
Oh man, what was that game like? Was it just missed chances and
I mean,
goalkeeper?
we played. Look, Benfica's had a whatever reason you want to point to. We've not played well all year long, with the exception of maybe a couple of games here and there. At the beginning, we beat a couple of teams like 5-0, whatever. We thought we were on our way, and then all of a sudden, we just performances just nowhere near what we expected. And we're getting victories, but it wasn't impressive. It was never commanding. It was, we'd take the lead in the first half, and the second half we'd struggle to hold on to the lead, and it's just like, what's going on with this team? But at the same time, we're just content to pile on the points because we felt there's too much talent on this team with the coaching staff, with the experience that they have. These guys are going to figure it out.
Yeah, yeah.
They didn't. Now, fast forward to this weekend's game, Sunday's game. I thought Benfica played well enough to go into the half with a 3-1 lead. They had a breakaway, pretty much a breakaway, one-on-one, where Helton came up big time save. Because things could have really gotten interesting had they gone up 1-0. And I mean, think
Yeah.
about, it would have been a circus. But Benfica played well. Darwin is literally 2 feet from the goal line, and he somehow, some way, I think it was harder to miss the goal than it was to actually get it on goal. But somehow he found a way to miss the goal, and that's the type of season we're having,
Yeah.
right? We had, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was 15. I think it was 15 shots on goal. I think only 3 of them went on actual goal. Everything else is just like, and so, but at least we created chances.
Yeah.
Unlike previous games, we created some chances. We played all right. So could have very easily gone into the half with a 3-1 lead. Then the second half, a lot of ball control. They try to catch us on a counter because that's typically how teams like to play us in Portugal, with the exception of most games this season, because we're nowhere near the level anyone expects. So they're like, we don't have no respect for these guys. Let's go on top of them, which is shocking to see a Benfica team being played like that. But nonetheless, we created some chances. Peasy hit the post, we were there. We're having a tough time getting the ball in the back of the net. We went through a stretch, November, December. We went through a stretch where it was like going into every game, Curtis, it was like, all right, Benfica's giving up 2 this today. Are we
Yeah, yeah.
scoring? Are we drawing 2-2, or are we gonna score 3 or 4? And like we're winning 3-2, and it was like even the Rangers in Europa League, right? We're losing 3-1. We found a way to tie the game in the 92nd minute, 3-3. We're at least we're scoring some goals. Weren't playing great, but we're doing enough to salvage a point. And when you're down 3-1, obviously, and you draw 3-3, you don't want to celebrate because it's not a victory, but look, it's an attitude you want to see the team have. At the end of the day, you're down 3-1 with 20 minutes to go. You find a way to draw.
It's all right. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'd much rather take that than be up 3-1 with 20 minutes to go and then give up the lead. It's a totally different mindset, right? Going into the locker room and looking at the following games. Now, now you fast forward to now, right? I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. You fast forward to now, and we finally straightened out whatever defensive problems we were having, right? We played well, I thought so, defense, with the exception of a couple of breakdowns. That one with Obama shot wide, and we'll get into that in a second. Grimaldo was watching, but we found the way. I think we straightened things out in the back. But now we switched, let's say, the pendulum. So, like, our problem, we went from having problems at the back, not having any in the front. Now it's the opposite. Now we're defending. We just can't get the ball in the back of the net. So, I mean, it's good for you guys, but it's terrible for us.
I mean, I said this last time we spoke. You gave me so much confidence telling me how bad you were, and we still couldn't win the game. Obviously, the general feeling for me, and I think amongst the Arsenal fans, is that we felt like we missed an opportunity in the first game against you. I mean, I couldn't have picked a better player for those chances to fall to. You can see he's on the green screen. Aubameyang's usually ruthless, and I'm seeing this guy miss from 6 yards out, unmarked, putting it wide. And, next minute he's running through on his right foot. I'm thinking goalie drags it wide, and then he tried to do that little Cruyff turn at the end and got tackled. And I'm thinking, we're going to end up paying for this. Like, what was the feeling for you and the Benfica fans about that draw? Did you see it as a positive draw, or how did you feel about the 1-1?
I mean, I looked at it as a positive draw because I thought the result was much better than I anticipated. As you said, I was giving you all types of confidence going into that game. Benfica was struggling with Portuguese league minnows, and you guys just come off an impressive victory, not against the cities or the Uniteds or the Chelseas of the world, but still Leeds. It's a quality team. They got a fantastic manager. They could catch anyone napping on any given day, and you guys had an impressive performance, 4-2 victory. Obama coming off a hat trick. And I was like, wow, things are looking good for you guys. We're here struggling. So going into that game, if you would have told me it was 1-1, I would have signed up for it. And that's exactly what happened. I was pleased with our performance. I think you guys definitely started better. I think you guys were the better team, from the first to the 90th minute. But I think Benfica got more comfortable as the game went along. You could tell 30, 35th, whatever. It was like between the 30th and the 35th minute of the first half. Benfica said, all right, these guys are good, but we could maybe touch the ball around. You saw Benfica controlling, keeping possession a little bit more, where up until that point, it was just counter, Brady, try to get the couple touches. We barely did anything on your offensive third. They started to believe in themselves, and I thought we played well to finish the first half. And then came out in the second half, we're able to get that penalty. We're able to get the lead, but that was short-lived. But, I think overall it was a positive result when you consider the opportunities you guys had. And as you mentioned, with the player that you all wanted with the ball at his feet and that opportunity and that at a moment like that, and then he didn't come through. Yeah, it was absolutely surprising. But look, this matchup with Benfica Arsenal, and again, I feel like I'm being set up, man. Reminds me of, I believe it's 2017.
Yeah.
Benfica playing Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League. I don't know if it was the quarters. I don't know what it was. Or it might have been the first round of 32 knockout, whatever it was. I don't remember exactly now. My apologies for that. I should have looked that up prior. But we played the first game at Stade de Luz. We won the game 1-0. Ederson, who's now Manchester City, stood on his head, saving Aubameyang penalty. Aubameyang missed a bunch of opportunities. They were definitely the better side, but at the end of the day, we took the lead going into to leg 2, and then we played well in that first half in Dortmund, and I think the wheels fell off the wagon in the second half, and they wound up beating us 4-0. Wow. They gave us a ton of hope.
And score.
they took us to school and they gave us a whipping. They gave us hope, right? We're like,
Yeah.
oh, 1-0. And then you see that first half, and I think that's the best I've ever seen Pizzi playing the Benfica, sure. When you consider the opposition, the level of competition, he was fantastic. Then at halftime, it was like, all right, let's clamp down on this guy, take him out of the game. Benfica couldn't get the ball past midfield, and it was just an absolute shellacking, and we all left, disappointed. And I'm trying not to fall into that trap.
Yeah.
Trying, because I don't want to be disappointed again tomorrow. Odds are, if you look at, as we said last week, you look at it on paper, Arsenal's the favorite. They're the better team. Now, is Benfica going to go out and try to get a goal? Because you guys are in the driver's seat
This
with
is
the
what I was
away
going to
goal.
ask you as well. How do you think you're going to set up?
I think we're going to see, again, I was wrong last time, and I got to admit it here.
Played, didn't he? And he played well, I thought, the guy
Yeah,
you
he
mentioned.
did. He did with the 3 at the back, which was surprising. And look, and it was never a doubt if he was a quality player or not. It was just a doubt making your debut in Europe against an opposition that could really cause some damage. And we're going to lose another player for a couple weeks, a couple months due to mental meaning confidence problems, right? When a guy's making, and so I was worried about that. But look, to his credit, he played well. I thought we held ourselves defensively with the exception of a couple of breakdowns. And I think you're going to see a lot of that again tomorrow. I think we're going to set up with the 3 at the back. We didn't play with the 3 at the back over the weekend, but I think we'll set up with the 3 at the back tomorrow against you guys. I think we're going to sit back, try to catch you on a counter, but it all depends on how much you guys are going to open up, because part of me wants to tell me that you're going to go for it. You're going to want to get an early goal, because if you get an early goal, then you throw the tie out of the window. That's it. It's a wrap, because now Benfica's got to score 2. But at the same time, I'm thinking, well, Mikel Arteta might not want to open himself up, because at the end of the day, you are in the lead. A 0-0 draw to you guys is as good as a win.
Yeah.
The objective here is not to look impressive, I don't think. The objective here is not to put up 5, 6. The objective is to advance to the next round.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, again, it depends how you guys attack it. I think we'll sit back initially to feel you guys out. And then I think it'll be a lot like the first time. First couple minutes is all yours, and then we're going to try to advance, because as the clock ticks down, to us, a 0-0 does us nothing. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. I do think Cebolinha will start Everton. I thought he came in against you guys, and he did all right. He did well. I thought, I think and same thing with Rafa. Rafa is our quickest player. He came in the second half.
Bro, listen, how quick is that guy? Do you know what? I've had him on FIFA before, right? And he's quite small, isn't he? And he's so quick. And I see this guy come on. The first thing I'm thinking in my head, why does this guy not stop? Like, I don't know. Maybe his game, I don't know how good he is, but he is quick, bro. Is he that good?
He's one of the quickest players in all of Portugal. He was part of the Portugal, team that won the Euros in France, and he's a good player. He's got the one thing that I tell. There's 2 things in football you can't teach, Curtis, and you know this as well as anyone. You can't teach speed. You got it or you don't, bro. You're not gonna teach like, yo, bro, you ain't fast. I can't. I can teach you all this, but you ain't gonna be. At the end of the day, it ain't gonna happen. And then the other thing, you can't teach size. Like you're either big or you're small. You can't teach that. There's 2 things you can't teach. Everything else you kind of teach. And so he's got that in his favor. He's small in stature, but speed wise, he's stupid fast.
Yeah.
But his decision making, man, oh my god,
not that good.
That guy, because of his speed, as we mentioned, gets into scoring opportunities left and right, regardless of who it's against. It doesn't matter. This is one of the few guys, regardless of the competition level, he's going to find himself in front of the goal with an opportunity, and then he either shanks it or doesn't shoot. He looks to pass when he should shoot. He looks to shoot when he should pass. And and you're there dumbfounded like Rafa, like it's not that difficult, brother.
Yeah.
Because I think the battle, right? Half the battle is to get into those opportunities, to get in those positions, and he does.
Yeah.
But then the final decision is just horrific. And I think Jorge Jesus, with both he and Everton, right? I think he tried to defend, wear you guys out a little bit, and then spring those 2 guys, because Everton's pretty quick himself.
Yeah.
Tried to spring those 2 guys onto the field, hoping that, caught you guys either tired, fatigued, or a little bit overconfident and pushing up more because obviously Benfica didn't show much in at the beginning of the game, and then with the ability that those guys have to beat you on a one-on-one off the dribble and with their speed, I think that was the game plan. I thought they came into the game, they did all right, and I do think that tomorrow they both will start. So, but it'll be. I think they will, and I think it'll be a totally different game. But again, it'll be a lot of defending, and try to spring one of those guys forward. And you saw Darwin Nunez, our record signing, with the ball at his feet, doesn't give you much, but he's a physical presence, and so I think that's what Benfica will try to do tomorrow.
Do you know what? It's funny having seen you in that game. I feel like I know your team a lot better now. Like, having seen your players, I felt like towards the end of that game, probably the last 15, 20 minutes, I think you were the better team. We kind of sat back and we didn't look like we had much energy left. And obviously you brought Everton and Rafa on. And I'm looking at the game thinking, I know there's certain players sometimes a coach will like to bring them on off the bench against tired legs. I'm looking thinking, if I'm following Benfica, I would want those two on the pitch. Are they not as good when they start? Are they better off the bench, or what's the situation with those?
Well, thing with Rafa, as I told you, Rafa's been in Benfica now since I believe 2016. 2016, 2017. He was one of Benfica's record signing. He's still the most expensive player in the Portuguese league, going from Portuguese team to Portuguese team, 16 point something mil. Still the most expensive transfer. But ever since then, he looked like the shirt. We use the term in Portugal that camisola do Benfica pesa muito. Benfica shirt weighs too much. And it looked like, the shirt was a little bit too heavy for him at first. He'd have his moments. One thing is, again, as I've said over and over and over, you can't teach speed. And when he's confident, he gets on the ball and he wants to take players on one-on-one, he's fantastic. But then I'm not even joking about this. I'm pretty sure you could reach out to people that follow Portuguese soccer. And he gets himself in the best scoring opportunities. He just can't finish. He cannot. The guy, he'll dribble the goalie and he's right on the goal line, ready to tap it, and somehow he hits the post. You're like, what the is this? It's a joke. But he has the ability to do that. And so, as you know, when your player has that ability, you're going to throw him out there because he could finish the game at any moment. And the same thing with Everton now. The difference with Everton is he's got all that ability, all those crazy expectations. I believe Arsenal was interested in purchasing him. Yeah, Everton, all these English Premier League teams. This is a guy, as I mentioned on last week's show, was part of the Brazilian national team, was the leading goal scorer in the Copa America. But since he's arrived, he's been a huge disappointment. He's had spurts where he's phenomenal. He's had a couple beautiful plays, but it's too many in between. He'll break 2-3 guys and then set somebody up for a goal, but then he goes the rest of the game without doing absolutely nothing. And I think in a game like we saw last week, I think Jorge Jesus wanted someone that was going to put in the work, put in the work rate a little bit more on the defensive side, because we know you guys cause a ton of danger. And then using them again, using them in 10, 15-minute, 20-minute spurts to see if maybe he doesn't think, and not having to defend as much and having the fresher legs will help him out, because at this point, Benfica needs for Everton to be anywhere, near what we all expected. We need him to be close to the player we all seen at Grêmio and on a Brazilian national team. If Benfica is to really pose a serious threat for Arsenal tomorrow, he's going to have to be on his game. And the same thing with Rafa. But as you know, those guys with their speed, they're always going to be involved in counterattacks and scoring opportunities. It's just about making that final decision and putting the ball in the back of the net, which we've struggled mightily this year. Now, Rafa, I've said this. I mean, go back and listen to the Benfica podcast. He goes through like 2-3 month period where he's unplayable, and it's like, bro, when his confidence is there and he's playing well, and I've said it over and over, he's Benfica's best player. He's best player in Portugal because you cannot stop him. The guy just takes off and send 3, 4, 5 guys. You're not going to stop him. But then, aside from like that 2-month tear that he goes on every year, the rest of the year is just like, you wouldn't believe it. It's the same player you're looking at.
It's crazy, man. Do you know what? I remember when that game started last week, and I remember seeing the game, and I said, surely Benfica don't defend that high up the pitch. I just thought, no chance. And they just stayed there pretty much. And I'm thinking, surely we're going to get chance after chance. Aubameyang's up front. You've got Otamendi and Vertonghen at the back. I mean, somehow you kind of made it work. We opened you up that one time where Ceballos found Bellerin, played it to Aubameyang. I don't know how he missed. Is that? Do you expect them to play like that tomorrow? Is that generally how they defend with those
We
guys?
we always defend with a high line, always. And then in Portugal, due to the lack of quality on the other side, it works because we squeeze and we pack them
Yeah,
in, and we
yeah,
force turnovers, and and then Benfica gets the ball back, and so you shorten the field, make
yeah,
things better. Now, that's part of why I was so worried about that first leg against you guys, because I knew we were going to play that high up the field. And you guys have the quality of players that aren't going to, just kick it away because you don't know what else to do with it. You're not going to turn it over because you don't have the ability to do anything else with it. You have the players that can put the ball in the back of the net. And that's why I kept like Curtis says, it could get ugly. It could get ugly. That's what I was so worried about. But look, it worked out in our favor. You did have the better scoring chances. All that being said, it doesn't count if you don't put the ball in the back of the net. And as confident as some of you guys might have been after that game, because Benfica didn't really show you much. It wasn't like, okay, they're I see what they could do. They could pose a threat here and there. But if we're on top of our game, Arsenal is a better team. I get that. But, I could turn around and say, Curtis, if it wasn't for a lucky bounce off of Vigo's face, you never get that ball in the box. And maybe Benfica does come away with the 1-0 victory, because you could have all the chances you want. If you're not putting them in,
yeah.
doesn't
Doesn't
matter.
matter, does it?
So I
Do you know-
think JJ, I think Jorge Jesus. Well, if I'm him, I'm telling the players that in the locker room, like, look, these guys, they're not better than you. They're just bigger names. They took a bounce off of Vigo's face for them to get to get a goal. I'm playing that card. Do I really believe it deep down inside? Probably not. But I mean, you've been in a locker room. Sometimes you gotta tell the lads what you gotta tell them to get to believe.
Do you know what it is? I'll be honest with you. I'm more nervous about this game than the first one, naturally, because this is the game. You're out the competition if it goes wrong. And the thing with me as an Arsenal fan, I don't trust this Arsenal team. I don't trust them. I don't trust the manager. I don't trust the players. I don't trust the owner. I know that they could go out there tomorrow, play great, beat Benfica 3-0. Equally, we could go out there, you score an early goal, we drop our heads, and next minute we lose 2 or 3-0 and we're out. I remember last year, Olympiacos beat them 1-0, went to the home game. I thought, they're finished. We'll beat them 2 or 3-0. We ended up losing the game 2-1 and went out on away goals. So I'm looking at it from Benfica's point of view. I think your manager will be thinking, do you know what? Arsenal are under a lot of pressure in this game. You're the away team as well. So if you get an away goal, all of a sudden we're under a lot of pressure. So, I mean, how did you view Arsenal in the game last week? What did you see as the strengths and weaknesses in the Arsenal team?
I mean, you guys were exactly what I anticipated you would be going into the game. You
Yeah,
control the game for the most part early on. Again, you just look at your roster: Ceballos, Odegaard, the kid Smith Rowe, Obama, and Pepe's coming off the bench. That's like, we don't have any of those players. You know what I
yeah,
mean? We have players that, and we don't even have a lot of young players nowadays. I mean, Benfica, but normally we develop these guys to get them to teams like your team, because we can't afford to keep these guys around. We need that money to run the club. But, I thought that Benfica, as I said before, they got confident. I think that they saw those big name players, and you see Obama missing an opportunity like that, and the belief starts to creep, and like, these guys are human just like us. They could be had. Now, I think your strength, one of your strengths, I absolutely love to see Danny Ceballos play. I told you this the last time.
yeah,
I think that's a huge advantage that you guys have in the center of the park. When you got Adel Tarapti, could try his ass off, but defensively, it's not going to give you much. You know what I mean? He tries, but doesn't necessarily know how to defend. So you're always going to have him. I don't know if Odegaard is going to play this time, but it's Weigl on his own
yeah,
in the middle of the park. Peasy will probably play tomorrow. That doesn't give you much defensively. So you're always going to have that huge advantage. So to me, it's the way you guys can rotate the ball and just keep possession. And as long as you do that in a game that technically you're up, quote unquote, 2-1 because of the away goal, you
yeah,
guys are in the driver's seat. I think Benfica at some point is going to have to come out and chase that goal. But it all depends. Again, if you guys get an early goal, we're done. I'm not done, but now we gotta, we still tie, and then things will be. Then you go to extra time, reminisce of 1991,
Mm,
Benfica at Arsenal. Easy is an extra time. I'm praying that's the road we go down. But I don't. I, nothing Benfica does nowadays surprises me. I don't know if
yeah,
I'm making sense with that, but if they play well and they come away with the victory, I'll be a little bit surprised, but I won't be shocked because this is what we expect Benfica to do. But if they go out there and they lose 2-3-0 based on the way we played all year long, yeah, will I be heartbroken? Will I be upset? Absolutely. But I won't be surprised. You guys obviously on any given day have the ability to beat anybody if you
yeah,
guys are on your game. Your weaknesses, I don't know, man. Your weakest center back pairing, maybe. And I love David Luiz. I hate saying that, but we don't play. We tried to play with Darwin Nunez as the pivot, as the lone guy up top, but he doesn't have the ability to hold on to the ball with his back to the goal, hold off, David Luiz or Gabriel and wait for a teammate to come. You've seen him in the game when Luca Walshmate came in and he's trying to play a 1-2 with him and he's passing the ball 4 feet away, like and going out of bounds. He just doesn't have that ability. So the way Benfica plays leaves a lot of questions there. But so I can't even say it's your center backs. I don't see a crazy weakness. I guess the only one I could go is Bellerin if you put Everton and Everton's on his game or
yeah,
Rafa on that side. But Bellerin got wheels. Might not be. I don't think he's anything special, but he's got wheels. So I think if weakness, I'd point to that. How's that?
yeah.
Am I?
If
Am I?
you
That makes sense.
if you need a right back, I think we're trying to sell him right now as well.
We it's funny. We our last right back that we all loved so much in the pre, he's actually in the Premier League now, is Nelson Smith, who's at
Oh, yeah,
Wolverhampton.
yeah, yeah.
We sold him to Barcelona, and ever since then it's been Andre Almeida
Mm,
who tore his ACL, MCL. He's been out for like the last 6 months. Should be coming back anytime soon now. But
yeah,
he's the guy that the ugly duckling. Uh, so trust me, Benfica's been looking for a right back ever since Smith left. For some reason or another, we just haven't been able to find. I don't think the club intends to find one. I think they're content with their own pretty boy, Andre Almeida. We brought
mm,
in Gilberto, the guy. He came in. I believe he came in. Did he come in? Yeah, did he come in? Gilberto? I don't know who played. So he played the three. I think Gilberto played on the right. He had to be the wing back on the right side. It was between him or Diogo Gonçalves. We got him from like Fluminense or for 1.5 million for 50% of his pass.
yeah,
27-year-old. I don't think we're trying to strengthen that position. They love Andre Almeida for a reason now, but I'll take Bellerin. I mean, see, Bellerin
yeah.
on Benfica makes
He would probably
sense.
be all right. Yeah, yeah.
But for an Arsenal, I think it's not exactly the best option for you
Not
guys.
the best. I think the general feeling over here is it's all or nothing for Arsenal tomorrow. I mean, Leeds won yesterday. That actually put us to 11th. We're in the bottom half of the table. So top four, we can't even see top four right now. Top four is gone. We've got to win this competition, not just beat Benfica. We've got to win this competition, or this season has been a disaster. We're out of both the cups as well. For us, it's all or nothing. Now, I looked at the league table now. Obviously, what's the situation actually in Portugal? Who gets the Champions League spots? Is it the top two, and then is it Europa League? How does it work in
So
Portugal?
until this season,
Yeah,
if like the last 6 seasons, Russia jumped us. They were sixth in the coefficient. We were seventh. So until this season, it was top. The first place gets direct access to Champions League. Second place went to the play-in game.
yeah,
Now this season, top two go straight in. Third has to play the playoff game. So last year, Benfica finished second place behind Football Club do Porto, and we played against PAOK, and we wound up losing 2-1. So it was one leg. I firmly believe had we played a second leg at home at the Stadio da Luz, Benfica would have won that game 3-4-0 easily. But we didn't have that luxury, and we were knocked out of the Champions League before it even started. So
yeah,
that didn't go well. Right now, as a Benfica fan, that's what we're praying for because second place is going to be very tough. First is 15 points out. Forget about it. 14 games to go. We're not doing it. Second
yeah,
place, I don't think we're catching. So that's that third place, that UCL playoff spot. Sporting Braga is 4 points ahead of us right now, so that's not even looking good for us. So, as you said, they're both of these clubs in a very similar situation. The only difference is we're still in the so-called FA Cup,
Yeah.
where we won the first leg of the semifinal 3-1, so we're in the driver's seat going into the second leg. And if we come away with that, we find a way to advance. We'll play in the final, so we're still alive for a major competition in domestic Portuguese football, where you guys are not. But at the same time, I spoke about this with Daniel from, what's the name of his show? Blind Goon, whatever it's called. I don't know the name. Blind Gooner, right? Some Gunner.
Yeah,
Okay. I'm hesitant because I don't want to say the wrong name. Sorry about that.
yeah.
But I said it then. I have like this crazy feeling that whoever loses the game tomorrow, either of the managers is on the hot seat. I think there's a strong possibility that both managers, whichever one of them loses, might have just managed their last game for their respective club. At least in Benfica side, for sure. Arteta, I know you guys aren't happy about him or not happy with his results. So there's a possibility that both of these managers, whichever one of them loses, might have just managed their last game for their club. What do you think about that?
I think for me, I mean, listen, I'm not. I understand Mikel Arteta's situation, and a lot of it is down to the owners as well. If he was to lose against Benfica, I think he would have to go. Do I think he would go? No, I don't think he would. I think the board would just put their head down and say, listen, man, it was just a bad season. We'll go again in the summer, because they have no real connection with the fans, our owners. We got bad owners, man. They don't really care about Arsenal that much. So I know you said your manager, George Jesus, is a legend at Benfica. So, I mean, the only reason I'm wondering why you say that, do your fans expect Benfica to win the Europa League? Because him being knocked out, losing to Arsenal, is that enough for him to be sacked?
Well, when you take into account the disastrous season we've had, yes.
Yeah.
I don't think in a regular year, Benfica in first place or a couple points, off of first place, fighting for the league title, yada, 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 losing to Arsenal, even though it's not the strongest Arsenal we've seen in the last 20 years, it's still, look, we understand what the situation is. We're talking about a Premier League team, one of the teams with the biggest budgets in world football. It wouldn't be the end of the world. But now, considering we're 15 points away, behind, I should say, crosstown rivals, team that hasn't won a title since 2001. Considering we
Sporting Lisbon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
2001.
2001. Yeah, they won in 99 and then 2001. Previous to that was 1983. So they're on, with the exception of the 99 and the 2001, that little hiccup, they're right on schedule. Every 18 or 19 years they win a title. So they could have their one title every 19 years. I don't really mind. That's a dig at them. But when you take into account the bad results we've had week after week, I think you're not going to be able to justify that it was Arsenal, because this isn't the Arsenal that's in first place in the Premier League. It's an Arsenal, as you said, that's struggling mightily. Yeah. So I look, I've had a lot of friends and a lot of listeners who've commented on our chat here, who've commented on chat with Robbie, with Troops, and a lot of them were upset at me for not defending Benfica more so than I did, because they understood that Arsenal is a Premier League shark and they have tons of budget, but they're like, Benfica's Benfica, man. Arsenal doesn't come close to Benfica in their history. Arsenal's historically, but like I get it.
Bro, shots fired.
I get it. But at the same time, it's like, that was yesterday. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, we have to look at things, today. You and I are having this conversation today, the Wednesday, the day before the game. We're talking about today. And even though things are all messed up for both clubs, Arsenal still, has the better players, has the better conditions, yada, yada, yada. Benfica hopes to develop players in order to sell them to Arsenal. So we have to be realistic about those things. But as I've said, it's not the strongest Arsenal. So I think even though, it's a Premier League team, Benfica loses tomorrow, there is a really, really good possibility that Jorge Jesus is not going to last much longer at Benfica. Then there's also the talk that, president is not happy with his performance. I mean, no one is, right? But
Yeah.
we brought him back from Flamengo for a lot of money. A lot of money. And Benfica, realistically, man, whether people want to admit it or not, they can't afford to fire him,
Yeah.
pay him. They're gonna pay another coach, and we're paying the previous 2 coaches already that we
Yeah.
fired. We this is our 3rd coach in like 18 months or whatever it is. Benfica can't. We don't have the deep pockets that Arsenal does. We just don't. And so they're not in a position to fire this guy. So this guy's only going to leave on his own will,
Yeah.
if whenever he wants. There's rumors, and I've got, a couple phone calls from Brazil now going back a month. The Flamengo really wants him back. And what did I think? Was it a possibility? And I said, look, I don't think he's leaving, because he leaves, he's going to admit that he's a failure. And he's not, Portuguese people, they're very proud. They're not going to want to admit that they failed at something, especially
Yeah.
with all these crazy expectations. But I am also aware that we live in a world that money talks.
Yeah.
If they throw a boatload at him, Benfica sure as hell is not going to say no,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're getting out from under that crazy contract for him and his assistants. They'll be like, yo, man, we'll drive you to the airport. You want a private jet? We'll send you back to Brazil on a private jet. But do I think he's going to want to go out on his own will? Like, yo, I can't do it. No, I don't think he's going to want to admit that it's been a failure. But I tell you, with each loss, with each dropped point,
Yeah.
that becomes closer to reality. Like one of them's going to get fed up. Fan base is not pleased. They're not happy. There's a huge portion of the fan base that didn't even want him back, because he left and he went to our crosstown rivals. They were upset about that. They didn't want the guy back. I did.
Yeah.
I did. I was.
He went to Sporting Lisbon then.
Yeah, he went to Sporting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just quickly before we round up, in Portugal then, if you was like comparing your clubs to the English clubs, so Benfica, Porto, Sporting Lisbon, you're going to say obviously Benfica, are they the biggest side in Portugal?
But I'm not saying that because I'm a Benfica fan. Look, at the end of the day, if I come on your show or anybody else's show and just act like a fool and just act like a fanboy, right? You're not going to want to have me back. People aren't going to respect my opinion. Benfica is by far, and there's no shadow of any doubt, by far the biggest club in Portugal. There was a thing like, back in the days, if just as far back as just a few years ago, they would say 7 out of every 10 Portuguese people you'll meet are Benfiquistas. Now, what's happened over the last 20, 25 years, because Benfica went through their era, what we call Vietnam, 94 through 2005, without just the worst period in the club's history, without winning titles. And basically, club was bankrupt. It was ugly. And Porto's picked things up ever since then. And they've been winning domestically. They're catching up. I'm not going to tell you, like, if you're looking at just international competition and you don't follow the Portuguese league or have knowledge of, the teams in Portugal, you think Porto is by far. And I'm being honest, and I hate to admit this. It hurts. But you're looking at just results. You think Porto is the biggest Portuguese team, bar none. But even then, they're what we say in Portugal is Porto's a provincial club. They're in their little, it's the second biggest city in Portugal, but they're in that area. Benfica is worldwide. I mean, you have Benfica. You've seen the support that Benfica gets when they went and they lost to Manchester United. They stay. Benfica, I mean, it's huge. It's ginormous. You combine the other 2 fan bases together, and it still doesn't come up to Benfica's. Now, the results over the last 20, 25 years haven't been where we expect them to be. And so that's why, even before when I said, my friends and listeners were like, come on, man, represent Benfica, Arsenal's and none. You're like, shots fired. You look at Benfica, 83 Europa League final, 87 Champions League final, lost in PKs to PSV, 91 Champions League final, lost to AC Milan, 1-0, the great AC Milan teams, right? Like, we're talking about little Portuguese. Porto won it in 86 against Bayern Munich. You're talking about little Portuguese teams. Benfica won 2 in the 80s. Benfica, until Juventus a couple of seasons ago, Benfica had the most, not that you want to brag about this, but we had the most losses. We're tied with Juventus with 5 losses in the Champions League final. We have 7 participate. Like, Benfica was a ginormous club.
Yeah.
And then football in 92 or whatever it was, when they changed to the new format of the Champions League, money just started being centralized in the Premier Leagues of the world. And then teams like, the Portuguese league and stuff, they started, to take a step back. And so it's difficult to compete with the likes of Arsenal of this world if you're not constantly, winning your league title and then the difference between a Porto and a Benfica is Benfica gets to the Champions League, and we've advanced out of the group stage twice.
Yeah.
So you don't get that money. Porto, on the other hand, they represent themselves well. So I could totally understand someone like yourself sitting on the outside looking in, thinking, "Well, Porto."
Do you know what it was?
But it's
I
Benfica.
wanted to ask you that question because some of my family, they were like, I was speaking about the Portuguese league and stuff, and they were like, "Nah, Benfica, UCBO, biggest club in Portugal by mile."
Mhm.
And I was saying, it's funny, when I was growing up, the bit of Portuguese football I saw, I always liked Benfica the most because of the red shirt. It was just red, Arsenal red connection. But I remember when I was younger thinking, whenever I saw Portuguese clubs, Champions League, it was Porto, it was Mourinho. You know, they had that little spell where, and obviously he won it. And I remembered thinking, are Porto actually the biggest club in Portugal? And then they were saying, nah, Benfica have got way bigger history, way bigger fan base. But I was thinking, are Porto like a Man City? Did they have loads of money or something? What was the reason for their dominance?
Man, I tell you the truth, but then I probably have to go into hiding for a few weeks or something. Look, man, Porto. Let's just say, look, they've had wonderful teams, wonderful players, wonderful coaches. Let's not take that away from them, right? They won the 03 Europa League against Celtic, 3-0, I believe. And the very next year, they won the Champions League against Monaco. And then back in 2011, I believe, with Andrés Villas-Boas, they won the Europa League again. So look, got to give them their merit, their credit. They did what they had to do when they had to do it. In Portuguese football, let's just say when they call can go, it's 50-50. It always goes, there's no shadow of a doubt. It's always in one team's favor. Get what I'm saying?
I get you.
I don't want to get into this, man, but Juventus got relegated to the Serie C. Porto got deducted 6 points under Jose Mourinho. They won the league title that year by 15 points. They deducted 6 points. The other two teams that were so-called involved, they got relegated. Porto just got deducted 6 points. They won the league by 9 points. What a punishment. And stuff like that. Domestically, there's a lot of questions. But internationally, man, give them their due. Give them their due. Say what you want. They just beat Juventus 2-1. They handled their business. And I could totally understand. And it hurts. Curtis, believe me, it hurts to admit it. Internationally, they've been, I could totally understand why you guys would think that they're the biggest. Now, Benfica is but not even close. Benfica, you talking back, we had the privilege of interviewing former players. I just had the privilege, I hope, anyone listening, don't let the cat out the bag because it's supposed to be a surprise for Sunday. It's Benfica's anniversary. We got all this set up. We're going to release interviews. And me and Alfredo, one of the the main man behind Benfica podcast, my partner in crime, we had the privilege on Monday morning, 4:30 a.m. U.S. time. Think about 4:30 a.m. I woke up to interview the great Sven-Goran Eriksson.
Wow.
All right, dream come true. When I was 4 years old, this is his first time he arrived to Benfica. He's the first coach I ever known at Benfica. He led Benfica to Champions League finals, you name it. He did Europa League finals. He's a legend. He's an icon at Benfica. I never in a million years would have thought that I would have had the privilege of interviewing and just listening and hearing him tell his stories. This is a guy that managed at Roma, Fiorentina, Lazio, the English World Cups. And he was like, when you coming out of the tunnel, because back in the days, the All-Star, the lose, they were underground. You come up the steps from the tunnel to come to the pitch, and you come out and you hear that noise, 132,000 people screaming. And there's not many venues in European football that gave you that. And that was Benfica. When you hear the great Carlos Moser, Brazilian national team captain, Brazilian national team starting center back, went on to play at Marseille, left Benfica to Marseille, and then came back. And we had the privilege of speaking to him, and he's telling the story that he got to Marseille from Benfica in 92. This is the teams that the last time I think they won the Champions League, but they got in Jean-Pierre Papin, a French football legend, is like, Carlos, this is the French league, Moser, today we're going to go play in Lille, whatever, it's going to be a tough game. And Moser tells the story. He's one of the funniest interviews you'll ever get. And he's like, Pierre, how many people? 25,000. He's like, oh, okay. Next game. Pierre, Carlos, today we're playing PSG, Bordeaux. Yeah. Yo, it's a game. It's because the fans are crazy. And he's like, and I'd always made a point to ask him, how many fans? 35,000. He's like, oh, Okay. So there's a funny story like leading up to Benfica played Marseille at the Stade de Luz. And it's to this day, a lot of all the opposite. They say it was the loudest the stadium has ever been. It was absolutely bonkers. And he said that they were in the tunnel getting ready to come out. And Pierre Papin, and he's like, all these French internationals sitting there and they're looking around. They're like, what's that noise? What's going on? And he's like, that's the fans. And he goes, oh, and he calls, he's like, now it was my turn. I called Jean-Pierre Papin over and I said, Papin, you know how you say tough game? The fans, he's like, yeah. He's like, today is a tough game. The fans today are not going to be quiet. And he looks at him. He's like, you want to know how many? He's like, what? 130,000. He's like, he said for the first and only time in his career, the whole team got behind him. When he came out and he made his way out of the steps and he came out to the field, to the grass, he looked back. There wasn't a teammate behind him. They were all shook. So that's
the one.
Bro, you hear him telling it though, and like, look, I'm getting the goosebumps because that's the Benfica I grew up on, and you hear him telling it, and he's like, Benfica at the time demanded a lot of respect from European team, the giants of the world football, and we've lost some of that. And like hearing a Sven Goran Eriksson talking about those times, man, and like we understand. I think any realistic Benfica fan today understands that, look, we're not going to beat the Manchester Cities to a Bernardo Silva signature. We're not going to beat even Arsenal. You know what I mean? To Obama. It's going to be tough. We're going to compete with those teams, but we're going to have to build teams from within, and we're not going to have those budgets. It'll be tough. But we, at the very least, want to be, I hate to admit it, like Football Club do Porto, get out of the group stage. Yeah, get out to the knockout stage and represent yourselves. Well, look, you lose to Manchester City, PSG, Real Madrid, there's no shame in that.
No shame, yeah.
But now when you're going to Basel and losing 5-0 to Basel, come on, bro. To me, that's one of the most embarrassing moments in my life as a Benfiquista.
It's crazy, bro. Listen, I did a show today, before we wrap up, I did a show today about Arsenal, and I was saying I can understand having a tough time. The English league is so competitive. Everyone's got money now. There are so many good teams. It used to be a top 4, now it's a top 6, top 8. The problem for me is I don't think the club are representing the fans properly at the moment. I think the connection, I think we've been pulled apart by the owner. And that's the problem. As a fan, you support a club because you have an emotional attachment to that club. And I think this owner has pulled that apart slightly. And sometimes I watch Arsenal and I feel like this ain't the football club I grew up supporting. Not because we're not winning, because of the lack of passion, the lack of determination to win. You know, as I said, that Man City game, I felt we just laid there and said, you're better than us. And football doesn't always work like that. The better team doesn't always win. So listen, before we wrap up,
I got a Benfica shirt for you because you are a Benfica fan inside, because you're talking about Benfica. You got an owner, we got a president, right? We went. Our fans are divided. Some voted for the president. A lot didn't vote for the president, but he won the election. We're very divided in that passion. And this is what I mean. When you look back at the videos, you see 120,000 standing up, 130 screaming. And now you get a fan base, a stadium, that beautiful stadium right behind me is absolutely packed to the gills. But it's, okay, we're at a game. Everybody's on their phone. Like, it's that passion. So, yeah, but I'm going to send you a Benfica shirt, bro. You're a Benfiquista through and through, man.
As long as we beat you, I'll wear that in future. But, if you knock us out, I don't want that. Give me a score prediction, bro. Who's smiling tomorrow evening?
Man,
you're a bit more confident than last week, aren't you?
I am. That's why I feel like I'm being led into a trap. Being led into a trap, mate. I'm gonna say 1-1. Then it goes into extra time. And bro, just because it happened the one time we met in an official game, 1991, where no one believed we were going to beat almighty Arsenal, but we did. So I'm praying. Again, I'm falling into the trap, but I'm a Benfiquista, man. And no matter how much doubt I have, the hour before the game, the minute that whistle goes, it comes right back in me, man. There's always hope. So I still got some hope. Hope I'm not disappointed, but Benfica 2-1 in extra time, baby. I mean, that would be just so I could come back here on AFTV and talk to you guys and bask a little bit in my glory, because we believe it, man. I think we need this more than you need it. And I understand for you guys, it's the last grasp at salvaging your season, but we need this. Because hopefully this will wake up the echoes in our stadium and in our beautiful. We have one like I think it was like 3 years or whatever. I don't know, some type of voting by the European Museum. Benfica's museums are absolutely gorgeous. We need something in there to wake up those Evvies and our great legends who have left us, but who have made us who we are today. We need a victory against the almighty Gunners of Arsenal, right? And something like this, I think it would do more to us than it would to you guys. So lighting up all those candles, brother. I feel for you. You know what I mean? But don't worry about it, because you'll always have a Benfica shirt and you always have a seat next to me at the Stadio de Luz, my man.
Bro, you got to understand, if we're at the dinner table right now, yeah? You see, if you take the Europa League away from Arsenal tomorrow, I've got no food on the plate, I've got nothing. I'm starving. If you lose tomorrow, maybe you can win the FA Cup in Portugal. Maybe you get third and make the Champions League. It's not all bad. Yeah, my plate is empty if we lose tomorrow. I'm starving.
I'll share. You'll never be starving at my table, man. I'll share some of my food with you. I hope at the end of the day your plate is empty, but don't worry about it. I'll share some of the bread baskets. I got you, man. You'll never starve around me, man. I got you.
Listen, right? I'm going. I was going 2-0, but then I thought, you know what? I don't know if we'll keep a clean sheet. And if you play that Everton and that Rafa as well, I'm not sure. The one piece of good news for us is that Thomas Partey is back. He's trained, he's travelled. That makes a huge difference, because our midfield without him is not the same. The one thing that disappoints me is Dani Ceballos played well in the first leg. I think Thomas Partey will come back in. I think he will drop Ceballos and play him next to Xhaka, because he loves Xhaka. But I wouldn't. I would play him with Ceballos. But because Ceballos is on loan, we don't know if we're going to sign him on a permanent, all that kind of. Granted, Xhaka was in the press conference today. I think usually the player in the press conference with the manager plays the game usually.
Rafa did it for Benfica, and then he was on the bench against you guys.
Oh, was he? Well, you give me hope then. But
he actually stuck his foot in his mouth. I know you want to wrap up, buddy. I know with me, bro. We'll be here till tomorrow. We'll be right before the whistle. We could do the live. We could do, what do you call it? Like during the game. We could do the live commentating during the game, right? We could just go straight. But now, all jokes aside, Rafa did it, and then he stuck his foot in his mouth because the press asked him about the so-called 1991 matchup between Benfica, which is legendary, all right, in the Benfica world, and
he didn't know.
He said he didn't know nothing about it. And so Benfica, they're like, so people are actually, I'm mad at him for admitting it, because I would fake the funk. I'm like, yeah. I mean, those are great Benfica teams, I would have made some BS up, right? But most of the fan base is upset that Benfica is not feeding these guys this. He's like, I'm telling you, you and I are gonna plan something. We're gonna go to Lisbon one day together. I'm always there. I'm gonna take you to a Benfica game, and you're gonna absolutely love it. You go into that museum, it's impressive, my man.
Yeah, I can imagine, man.
It's freaking, it's beautiful. And so the Benfica fan base is like, just like we paid the $15 to go on the tour, we'll pay for the players to go on a tour. They need to go through a tour because they don't know the history of the club. And I have an actual bigger problem that the guys aren't, they're admitting it in public, like, oh, like, not a problem. I'd be embarrassed. I'd be embarrassed. But to get back to your point, though, he was in a press conference, and then he didn't start. So
okay, so that might give me hope. But listen, I appreciate you coming on, bro. Tell the people about your podcast and everything. I'll put all the links in the description as well.
Benfica Podcast. You can find us on iTunes, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. We're on all the platforms. I believe we're on YouTube as well. We don't do much video because of the time difference. We're doing a lot of stuff here at 10 p.m. and then it's like 3 a.m. in Portugal and in Europe and stuff. So we just decided to pre-record it and release it that same night or the next morning. English speaking Benfica crazy diehards hosting this podcast. We give you a little bit of the truth. We try to humor you guys, but at the same time, once you listen to the Benfica podcast, we're not going to be feeding you BS. I don't know. We're Benfiquistas from the heart. And we'd love to have you guys listen to us. Hopefully, all you Arsenal fans, you still want to follow Europa League after tomorrow when Benfica beats you boys. Come on over and listen to us.
Hopefully we adopt each other's club as like, Benfica and Arsenal can have a little connection, the red shirts and, But listen, may the best team win anyway. We'll talk after the game, but I appreciate you coming on, bro.
Anytime, bro. I got to get you on a Benfica podcast. Maybe you stay up late next Tuesday night to come talk about the Arsenal defeat.
Hey, come on. Hopefully a win. But I'll be there anyway. No, just let me know, bro. I'll be there.
All right, my man. My pleasure, man. Thank you very much. And I want to thank all your listeners and everybody else for the support and the kind words and stuff, man. I root for you guys. Just not when you play against the Benfica.
Take care, everyone. Like and subscribe, and we'll be back after the game.